Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm sorry we're running a few minutes behind, just some technical issues, but we welcome everyone to our parent university tonight on navigating family relationships in the teen years. My name is Dr. Jessica Smedley, and I am the Director of Counseling for West Windsor Plainsboro Regional School District. Excited to be joined here tonight with our three behavioral health care clinicians from Rutgers University who work and partner in the district with us at our middle schools and high schools. So want to make sure we get things started right away, but just wanted to do a couple housekeeping things. For tonight's webinar, the chat function is turned off. However, the Q&A section is turned on and there's an opportunity. So if you have a question, we may not be able to get to everyone's questions, but we will have those after the presentation as well. If there's any follow-up that's necessary, you also should get a survey when you close your Zoom window tonight about questions for future topics that you're interested in for our parent university. So sort of a follow-up survey, or if you have additional questions about any of the information that was presented tonight, you can go ahead and put that in and I'll share those questions with our clinicians and we can perhaps put a Q&A together if there are still some lingering questions. But we're really excited to have everyone tonight. And my only other housekeeping item is that we are recording tonight's session. So if you are unable to join us live, you can or stay for the whole event, you will be able to watch this via the district's YouTube channel, probably by the beginning of next week. Usually it just takes us a couple days to get that uploaded to the website. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our clinicians. And Natalia, if you want to start, you can take it away.
Well, good evening, everyone. Actually, I'm going to start off our presentation this evening. My name is Helene Lewis, and I am one of the three Rutgers clinicians that work out of the district. Tonight, my colleagues and I will present on this topic of navigating family relationships in the teen years. I'm sure many of you find yourself either frustrated or at a loss for words when it comes to communicating with your teens. Tonight, we hope that you take away some information and strategies that can assist you in connecting with your teen. Therese Solo and I will be presenting this evening, and Natalia Piotrowskaya will be providing us with the technical support. So moving on, a little bit about our program. Rutgers University Behavioral Health Care's school-based counseling program serves a multitude of roles within the district. We provide on-site crisis intervention and screening, access to mental health services. We collaborate with mental health providers in the community. We support the district's, we support the district with mental health awareness and education. We provide consultation services to support the current practices, and all referrals for our services come through the school's counselors. Next slide. Tonight's objectives are threefold. First is understanding how communication and interactions with your child will change as they grow. We're going to learn strategies on how to build a healthy and trusting relationship with our teens. And we're going to learn how to connect and talk with our teenagers. And now I'd like to introduce Therese Solo, who will take us through the first part.
Okay, so good evening, everybody, and thank you, Helene. My name is Therese Solo, and I will be presenting on the developmental milestones for adolescents and teens. Adolescence is a time when young people try out new things and build a sense of who they are in the world. While your relationship with your young person might change at this time, it remains extremely important that we stay involved and we maintain a relationship with our teen. Taking time to connect, understand their perspective, and offering support can make such a big difference with their mental health. So in the next few slides, I hope to give you some insight into what your child is experiencing during this period of transition between childhood and adulthood. Next slide, please. So first off, let's talk about physical milestones. One of the most obvious changes that takes place during this stage is your teen's physical development, which is also known as puberty. The difference in growth between boys and girls is very noticeable at this stage, and there's a big difference in physical milestones among individual kids too. Boys are hitting an age when they start to grow rapidly, very quickly, and the girls are just starting to slow down. It's an important time of rapid growth and change that can lead to confusion, to feelings of inadequacy and insecurity. And also, you might start to see some unfavorable behaviors. And as you can see in the slide, again, the physical changes that they're experiencing, they're trying to make sense of. Okay. This slide depicts how your teen's brain is changing and growing. So in the midst of the physical changes, their brain is also changing. In the mid to late teenage years, kids start thinking not just about their own lives, but also more about how the world works. That change is a gradual process and it doesn't happen all at once since the brain is still developing to its full capacity until the age of around 25. During high school, teens are likely to show an increasing ability to reason. They're able to make educated guesses and sort fact from fiction. Here, you may also start to notice that they're able to start think more abstractly. They're able to compare what is to what could be. They're able to think about and come up with ways to deal with hypothetical situations. They may also start to set their own goals for the future and take other opinions into account when making their own decisions. During the teen years, too, they're able to understand the consequences of their actions, not just today, but also in far reaching ways. An example is understanding that failing English class isn't just a bummer, but it can mean summer school. So they're able to make those connections. Another thing that you may start to notice is that they will start to develop a strong sense of right and wrong and make decisions based on following their conscience and their gut. These are all noticeable clues that changes in your teenager's brain is taking place. Next slide, please. Okay. Another big milestone is social and emotional changes. It's a big part of your child's journey into adulthood. So, as parents, we have a big role to play in helping our child develop adult emotions and social skills. Strong family relationships with family and friends are vital during this stage of development. This stage of development, what it refers to, it's the process through which individuals, such as your child, start to learn how to understand and manage their own emotions. They also start to build meaningful relationships and they start to learn how to navigate social interactions in effective ways. It encompasses a range of skills and abilities that include self-awareness, self-regulation. They may start to be able to show empathy. Their communication, the way they communicate will change. And then another big change will be interpersonal skills, how they're relating to others. It's crucial in adolescence. This stage is very crucial in adolescence because it helps teenagers navigate their changing lives by improving their academic performance, building strong relationships, again, managing their emotions, and most importantly, how to develop a healthy sense of self, who they are. Okay. Strong social emotional skills during these years provide long-term benefits. They can help teens manage stress, communicate, learn how to communicate effectively, and build resilience against mental health challenges like depression and anxiety. So the social and emotional milestones are a big, are a big part of development here. Here, during this period, it's important to keep in mind that the emotional maturity of a high school freshman is going to be very different from that of a graduating senior. There are huge changes in social and emotional skills between ages 14 and age 18. 14 and 15-year-olds experience significant social and emotional changes that include they start to develop this greater need for independence. There's going to be increased peer influence. They're going to also start to develop their own personal identity here. And on this slide that's up now, these are some things again that you may start to notice and you may wonder about, right? They may not want to talk as much. Um, their their whole life is starting to revolve around their friends, and all of that is normal. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. So this slide talks about 16 to 18-year-olds. Between the ages of 16 to 18, you will notice that your teen is developing a stronger sense of self, a stronger sense of individuality and identity. They're also going to need have more increased independence from their family, and they may start to also develop more stable and intimate friendships. So their circle of friends, where it was a big group, maybe when they were younger, it's going to start to to narrow down. Emotionally, at this, during these ages, they become better at managing their feelings and can understand the longer term consequences of their actions. Though at the same time, they may also still experience mood swings, stress, and insecurity about their identity. Again, because of all these changes happening simultaneously. Socially, peer acceptance is going to remain very crucial, and romantic relationships are going to become more important. Again, as I said, they're going to move from group settings to more individual dating or individual friendships, and they're going to try to form deeper relationships here. Where they're going to be able to explore their identity and gain more complex emotional understanding um, is going to start to unfold during this stage of development. Next slide, please. Okay. So if you can't tell, a big part of this stage is what happens is friends become everything. So friends become everything, and your child will want to spend more time with their friends and their peers and less time with the family. Friendships gain new importance and power as they become adolescents and they go through puberty. And part of the reason is because of hormonal shifts are cueing changes in their brain chemistry that's increasing their desire to feel more accepted, to feel like they belong, and it's going to be important for them to feel like they matter to others. Additionally, their social worlds are beginning to expand as they move to larger secondary schools. So the change from middle school to high school is a very big change that is part of this. And at this stage too, they have more control over who they choose to spend time with. This may also be a time where it seems like you and your child are having more arguments. And this is normal because as children seek independence, they're starting to think more abstractly and they're starting to question different points of view. So, on top of this, your child might upset people without meaning to, just because they don't always understand how their words and actions affect other people. It might help to know that conflict tends to peak in adolescence and that these changes show that your child is developing into their own person. Okay. So this slide that's on the screen now, um, this refers to how teenage friendships can sometimes turn toxic. So as they're trying to navigate their social world, these friends that are starting to become important to them can become toxic as well. So sometimes toxic friendships can develop if your child hangs out with frenemies. And frenemies are teenagers who act like friends but are mean. And instead of making your child feel good, like they belong and accepted, these friendships are toxic because what happens is they make your child feel bad about themselves or others. That's because frenemies will often put people down. They may try to manipulate them or leave them out or behave in other mean ways, both face to face or even on social media. Teenagers sometimes need help to avoid and manage or even end these toxic friendships. Um, because, another thing that's happening here is that peer influence is another factor that becomes very strong during this time. So it's going to be even more important to help your child identify warning signs of an unhealthy or toxic friendship. And also on, try to identify what is a good friend. Friendships are going to change during this stage, and that's normal. So try to be ready to help your teen navigate difficulties, these friendship difficulties, and find new and healthier connections. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so this slide talks about teenage romance. It's something that will eventually come up during adolescence and the teen years. Romantic relationships are a major developmental milestone because they're linked to the way preteens and teenagers explore their body image, their independence, their right to privacy, and again, their identity. For some young people, these relationships might involve exploring gender and sexual orientation too. You may notice that your teen's been spending a lot of time checking and smiling at their phone. They're getting a little more dressed up than usual for weekend plans. Um, or they've started casually but constantly referencing maybe new people or new friends that they've been talking to, but it's kind of suspect or obvious that maybe this person that they're spending time with isn't just a new friend. It's important to note that teenagers can spend a lot of time thinking about romantic relationships, and these relationships can bring many emotional ups and downs. And it can bring emotional ups and downs not only for the child, but also for the family. But they're leading your child towards a deeper capacity to care, share, and develop intimate relationships in the future. Relationships, especially the first ones, can teach our teens so much about communication, boundaries, emotional regulation, and even resilience. This is an opportunity to talk to your teen about consent, boundaries, ground rules, and most importantly, safety. Next slide, please. So teens may act distant, but don't be fooled. Your presence matters more than they let on during this roller coaster stage. As you can tell, the teenage years are a roller coaster ride, and it's completely normal. It's hard being a teen, and parenting a teen is never easy during this critical developmental stage in your child's life. By understanding adolescent development, we hope that it will help you to find ways to stay connected to your teen and overcome problems together. The tug of war that you're experiencing between the parent and the teen is a common metaphor for the power struggles that may arise as your teen starts to seek out more independence and parents try to maintain guidance. Instead of trying to control, parents can learn to focus on guiding and understanding their teen's perspective to foster and maintain a healthier relationship. No matter how much your teen seems to withdraw from you emotionally, no matter how independent your teen appears during this time, or how troubled your teen becomes, they still need your attention and and to feel loved by you. Next slide, please. Okay. So just remember that navigating the teen years with your child is truly a balancing act. Finding just the right balance between your tween probably won't be the easiest parenting job you've ever had. It will take trial and error, but keeping the channels of communication open during these years is well worth the work you'll have to put in. Navigating this transition towards independence is difficult. And as much as kids hate to admit it, and they probably won't, children still need parents to stay connected and involved in their lives. Teens need their own space, but they also need their parents. In fact, most teens say they want to be closer to their parents, but they don't know how to do that. So while your kid is doing the work of separating, you need to do the work of carefully bridging the gap. Start by meeting them where they are. And that's what we're going to talk more about today. So, Helene will be reviewing simple strategies that may help to improve communication with your teen. Thank you.
So now that we've explored some of the milestones our teens experience, let's discuss some of the strategies a parent can use to foster their connection and communication with their teenager. Next slide. Staying connected during this time may be challenging. However, we can use those unplanned and planned moments in our families' lives to foster this need for connection. Some examples of unplanned moments can include casual chats during our daily activities, or a simple gesture like a hug, or being available when teens want or need to talk to us. And as for planned connections, these can include eating family meals together when possible, or when we are involved in fun family activities, and one-on-one time spent together, and holding family meetings for problem solving or to discuss issues that present themselves. Next slide. So the power of active listening. Active and intentional listening forms the cornerstone of strong parent-child relationships. It's more than just hearing the words. It's about truly understanding and connecting with our child on a deeper level. It fosters mutual understanding. It builds openness and trust between parent and child. And overall, it will strengthen your emotional bond. Next slide, please. Communicating effectively with our teenagers requires adaptive, active listening skills to navigate their growing independence. their intense emotions, and their evolving worldview. Understanding nuances is crucial for fostering strong connections. Active listening is a skill that's often overlooked, but crucial for effective communication, and it's defined by several components. The need to pay full attention, to give your teen, as they're speaking, undivided attention, putting away distractions like our phones. Show that you are listening using nonverbal cues like nodding and maintaining eye contact to show that you're engaged and interested in what they have to say. By responding thoughtfully, by rephrasing what you heard from your teen, asking questions to clarify what they said, and giving verbal acknowledgments to show that you are processing what they said. And it's also important to avoid interrupting them when they are speaking or making assumptions based on what they have said. Let them finish their thoughts before you respond, and respond with respect and relevant insights. Next slide, please. So here we have the OARS framework, which is a tool for deeper connection. It is based on motivational interviewing, which is a person-centered, collaborative approach used to help people find the motivation to make positive behavioral change. It is communication-based and often used by professionals like counselors and therapists to empower people to make their own decisions by focusing on their values, strengths, and goals. Adapting motivational interviewing for parent-child communication involves using these skills like asking open-ended questions, affirmations, reflection on their child's feelings, and summarizing the conversation to foster deeper connection, respect, and empowerment. This approach helps parents guide children towards positive behavioral changes by supporting their independence and building their self-efficacy, rather than approaching them with direct confrontation. Next slide. Or supports self-efficacy. Parents can build their child's confidence by encouraging their belief in their ability to change and celebrate small successes. It helps manage resistance, as this approach involves rolling with the resistance by avoiding direct confrontation and acknowledging the child's feelings first. In this slide, we show OARS in action. First are the open-ended questions. Instead of asking your child, "How was school today?" try, "Tell me about how your day went," or "What's been the hardest thing about keeping up with your homework lately?" Affirmations. Acknowledge their effort and character. "You've been really trying hard to stay on top of things. That takes a lot of effort. You are capable and you handled that challenging situation really well." As for reflective listening, rephrase what they said, rephrase their feelings. "It sounds like you're really frustrated because your friend didn't invite you to the party tonight." This shows that you're truly hearing what they are saying. And as for summaries, recap the key points of your conversation. So you're feeling really stressed about school, but you also want to do well. You're trying to find a new way to balance both. Next slide. Another strategy is the CLEAR method, which is a practical approach. It's a framework for difficult conversations that focuses on 4 key principles: connect, listen, explore and acknowledge, and reflect. It is a structured method for having productive conversations that emphasizes empathy and understanding before action. For the first, calm and connect, it's helpful to take a pause and take a moment to find a sense of calm and openness before you start your conversation with your teen. To listen, it means to listen with intention. Give your full attention to your teen without judgment. If needed, you could set boundaries during this stage by letting them know if you have a time constraint. For empathy and exploration, help yourself and your teen understand the personal impact of the situation, challenging them to think through possibilities for future action. This includes exploring the situation from your teen's perspective. Affirm and ask means to validate what they have said, that it's important to them. And even if you disagree, you are expressing your support. And finally, to reflect and respond is to take time to review the conversation, reinforce what was discussed, and then make a decision along with your team what the next steps that they can take. Next slide, please. It's also important in our discussions with our teens to be mindful of our body language and facial expressions, as they do affect communication. Facial expressions and body language are a primary way to convey emotions like joy, sadness, anger, disappointment, and often influences how the message is received. Reinforcing or contradicting verbal messages, nonverbal cues can strengthen these messages. For an example, a smile and open posture can signal confidence, openness, friendliness. Conversely, crossed arms can indicate discomfort, disagreement, or anger that contradicts our spoken words. Another important tip is to not stand over your teen when having difficult conversations or even daily conversations. Be at their eye level. For example, if your teen is sitting down, so should you before engaging them in a discussion. Also, it is important to remember that many teens can be quite good at reading our body language, and they will react accordingly. So it's very important to remain calm and work out your feelings of discomfort or anger before you talk with your teen. You can acknowledge your disappointment or your discomfort in having a conversation, but it's important to keep your cool, which is easier said than done if your teen has done something that makes you upset. But if we can't remain calm as parents, we should not expect our teens to do so either. If we yell or overreact, we run the risk of our teens tuning us out and avoiding discussions altogether. There's also a number of reasons not to have talks during heated moments. When teens are tense, heated, or angry, they're not going to be able to absorb information or to communicate clearly. When they're calm, they're better able to think out their issues, think through their consequences, and will be more receptive to our advice when we offer it in a relaxed tone. So if you're feeling wound up, give yourself a time out. Also, it's important not to use a negative tone when speaking with your teens. An example of this is, "Why are you such a mess?" or "Why can't you do this right?" This will put them on the defensive. If you find yourself arguing with your teen, pull back. Take a moment instead to ask an open question, or try using an I statement in which you'll explain how you feel rather than point out what your teen did or didn't do. They'll be more readily to understand where you're coming from when we put things in our own perspective. Another suggestion is about eye contact. For some teens, it is easier to talk about tough topics in a discussion with their parents when they're not directly looking at us. In these cases, it might benefit to have a conversation when doing side-by-side activities, like preparing dinner. Next slide. Thank you. Common parental challenges. Even with the best of intentions, parents often find themselves having challenges that impact their relationships with their children. When discussing difficult topics or having disagreements, parents often find it challenging to remain calm and neutral when their child is acting out or upset. Additionally, our busy schedules often lead to rushed interactions and leave little time for meaningful conversations. It is important to remove your own distractions when having an intentional conversation with your teen. Put away your phones. Find a place where you're more likely to give your full attention to the child that you need to have the discussion with. Patience and persistence are key. There will be times where your child is reluctant or unwilling to open up, and we need to be gentle with them. Next slide, please. Listed here on this slide are local New Jersey resources for parents and families to help support their loved ones, to improve family communication, as well as provide education regarding mental health issues. Oh, I'm sorry, I mixed up the slides. So returning to supporting mental health through communication. Supporting mental health at home through communication involves creating a safe space for open dialogue, practicing active and non-judgmental listening, and using I statements to express feelings without blame. Be present, check in regularly with your teen, and help identify and connect to resources when needed, while also modeling healthy communication yourself. Learn the warning signs for mental health struggles, such as change in sleep patterns and appetite, changes in academic performance, changes in social behaviors, increased irritability, or when our teen expresses hopelessness. Regular and open communication is a protective factor for our children and teens. If you notice ongoing changes lasting more than 2 weeks, or if your child expresses thoughts of self-harm, reach out to a mental health professional, as early intervention makes a significant difference. Next slide. So returning to this slide, there are local New Jersey resources for parents and families to improve communication, as well as providing education on a multitude of mental health topics. In our next slide, at Possibilities for Change, Teen Speak helps parents reduce risks and build even stronger relationships with their teens. The overload of technology, as well as the pressures of school and extracurricular activities, are leading to many tweens and teens shutting off by the time they get home. Today, parents are feeling less connected with their children and are more worried about what the teen years will bring. They're looking for ways to break through these barriers and have real talks again. Next slide. Just Parents is a parent-driven, family-focused program to support parents and caregivers who are concerned about their kids' struggles with mental health issues. NAMI Mercer County holds regular monthly meetings of Just Parents, and they provide parents and caregivers who are concerned about their child's mental health and well-being, valuable peer connections, and the opportunity to share insights and resources through a confidential meeting run by and for parents. Here are some of the groups that they hold. Moving on to the next slide is the contact information for the Mercer County location of NAMI. And in our slide next, Natalia, thank you. Here are some hotlines that support mental health safety and connection that are well known throughout the state for reference. And finally, the teenage years don't weaken family relationships, they transform them. With patience, understanding, and open communication, these bonds can emerge stronger than ever. Remember, trust plus communication equals strong bonds. Thank you for coming to our presentation this evening, and now we'll open up for any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you. So I don't see anything in the Q&A, but I know some people joined us probably after we got started. So I just want to invite if people do have questions. I was listening and had a couple of things I wanted to share as just to bring this back to school and underline the points that our clinicians made tonight. First of all, and just take the opportunity actually while we have another 60 or so people on the line with us to talk about what services are available in schools. So I introduced everyone as our UVHC clinicians tonight as our experts, and they are part of our team, our mental health team here at school, and we consider them part of our school counseling team, part of our mental health warriors club. And so I also want to take the opportunity to make sure everyone understands that we are fully staffed with school counselors who are also trained as mental health professionals. They don't provide clinical support, but they are trained in areas of mental health and wellness, including communication, and being able to sort of help parents and families with the struggles that come up at these times. And so just always like to take the opportunity to make sure that families know that we do have a full team. There are, with our clinicians and our in-house clinician, Lindsay Linebarger, also included, there are 41 people here in the district K through 12 to support you and your family. And lots of resources here tonight. So we'll certainly share those out and share the presentation with you so you can come back to it. The other thing I wanted to sort of mention, because I don't know that it's immediately obvious, especially for our families who may not have gone through their K-12 education here in the United States or even in New Jersey, is that one thing that I hear often from people after their children have graduated or from alumni themselves is sort of a surprise to find out after the fact that our school counselors are there for more than just academic advising. And so I feel like I would be remiss to say when oftentimes when I hear that, they are surprised because, or there's concern from a family member, particularly parents. I think we're pretty good about kids understanding the role of a counselor. We talk to them about that a lot through their time in WWP and in school. However, I think sometimes parents, particularly at the high school level, and I know we have high school and middle school parents and families, caretakers on the call tonight, but I think sometimes it can feel like because counselors spend a lot of time in our schools talking about academic advising, talking about college and career readiness and college and career planning. We know we have one of the highest percentages of students going directly to four-year schools in the state, and I would venture the nation. And so that is a lot of their time. However, it is not all of their time. So before a child or a family or someone needs clinical help, it's certainly something that we can help with. They are here for social emotional support for all of your children and family members. And I hope that everyone understands there's also limits. And so while our counselors, particularly the high school, are the people who write recommendation letters for students, it's there's a separation. And so what is said in a counselor's office, with a few exceptions, would never get shared out. And so it's an interesting duality that exists in school counseling, that a student can talk about, families can call and say, listen, we're having a struggle, or we tried some communication, we're struggling with that, can you help us? And I just want to make sure that everyone out there knows that that is not something that would ever get shared on something like a college recommendation letter, college applications. It's never marked on a transcript. And so while it's the same person, our school counseling team, who sees students and their families for a variety of reasons, they really are separate. So I like to say that anytime I get an opportunity. So I'm glad to have had the opportunity. And I think, so we don't really have any Q&A, but we may have just, like a little bit overwhelmed people. So one of the other things that I think that I'm really excited to look forward to, we do have another parent university with our clinicians coming up in February. So we'll have a winter one, hopefully, even if it's cold, the good news is a webinar, you don't have to go outside or leave to come back in the dark of winter. So we will send out more information about that in the coming months. And certainly it's my first time setting up a Zoom survey. So hopefully when you hang up the call tonight, if you're on a web browser, I'm not sure that it'll work if you're on your phone on the Zoom app, but hopefully you'll get a link to a questionnaire that you can ask any questions that you may not have thought of, but also if you have suggestions for topics. These webinars are basically what our families, we plan them based on what families ask for and what we see our needs in our community. So please feel free to reach out. All of our clinicians, and I obviously have district email addresses. So I encourage feedback. We'd love to continue partnering with you. And just going to check Q&A. Yeah, so we look forward to seeing you again on our webinars. Again, this can be viewed on the YouTube channel for the district, which you can just Google and bookmark that with on your browser. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you to our clinicians. That was great presentation. And I wish everyone a happy rest of the week. Happy weekend. We're almost there. And have a great night. Bye-bye, everybody.